Hey, Shawn, it's so good to sit down and talk to you. Just here at ASTA Field Crop Seed Convention this year is so much excitement. I mean, is that what you're seeing too? I'm feeling a lot of excitement from people really wanting to do more collaborating.
Yeah, I think that we're seeing we're seeing some optimism. I'm not sure that Dan Bassi fed optimism in his
Yeah,
presentation, where he was a little not a little, a lot
a lot
bearish
bearish.
on the industry. I think there's a sense of I think the sense is of wanting to try something else, wanting to figure out a way to make connections that are maybe a bit above and beyond what has worked in the past. And as you know, I get to spend a fair amount of time in Europe working with seed folks in Europe, and that collaboration level has always existed there. They're so willing to think outside the box of what creative collaboration looks like, and I think I'm hearing that here now as well. Hearing that commitment to engaging in the bigger conversations, a little outside the box.
Yeah, I really like everyone sitting around thinking about what our place means globally because it really is a global industry now. And I mean, it always has been, but even more so now. And all the economics just seem to kind of swirl around and interact with each other. And we got a lot of work to do.
We do have a lot of work to do. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this idea of that globalization is sliding off, right? That the goal is not necessarily to bring the world together now. It's to choose which partners do we want and then go get those partners.
Yeah, I mean, I see that happening, but I don't know. I'm just more of a person who wants everyone to work together. And so I still see the value of thinking globally and but also acting locally, obviously.
Yeah, this idea of collaboration is tricky. I think, and if you ask anyone in open court whether they're in favor of collaboration, the answer is almost always yes. But ask them if they're willing to give something to get something, and I'm not always sure that the answer is yes to that. I think I'm starting to see a shift in that we're willing to play ball on a level that is different than we were willing to before. We were only willing to play ball as long as we won. And now
we benefit. Yeah.
Right. And if we can make it so that collectively we benefit, or you benefit first and I benefit second, that's okay. That kind of a collaboration is a real potential now. Because if we see sub $9 beans and sub $3 corn, we're going to be, what was the language that Dan uses about that we're trying to find value opportunities?
Yeah, value demand.
Where we're going to get that. And I think that is a conversation now that's being stirred up at a much bigger scale. There's always been people thinking about it, but that bigger scale. Does that kind of line up with what you're?
Oh yeah, yeah. And I mean, I was just really interested in hearing him talk about just the impact that Brazil is having right now, and just the growth that they're experiencing, and the influence that they're going to have across their whole value chain, or they already do have. But we're going to have to pay more attention to that. And I think at SeedWorld, we're obviously positioning ourselves well in Latin America, but maybe we need to do more.
Yeah, I think this BRICS, right? The BRICS countries. I think that we knew that was a place for opportunity, a place for growth. I'm not sure everyone understands how to do business in those locations. So bigger companies sometimes have an advantage in being able to figure that out a little quicker. For us, I think that knowing that South America is a key opportunity for us and a key engagement, and I think with the change in administration now in the U.S., we're probably going to see a little bit more commitment to some different directions. And that's going to mean that we're going to have to be flexible. We're going to have to decide on the fly how we're going to be interacting. But for SeedWorld, the Latin American countries are a key component for us to continue to grow that global seed sector. So we might say that globalization has slipped off, but the idea that the seed industry is global, that continues to expand. So those two are going to fight a little bit against each other.
They will. And I'm really curious to see the impact of the potential tariff situation and what that's actually going to mean for us and how strong he's going to be on it. I don't know yet, but it's definitely something that we need to keep our eye on.
Somebody was saying to me just yesterday, I guess, the difference between threats of tariffs and tariffs. And that I think we'll see which which happens, or do we even need to move to phase 2 with the threat of tariffs? Does that change the conversation that happens?
Yeah.
So it's going to make for some interesting conversations to see how it goes. But he also was saying that like farmer optimism has never been higher. Purdue's study said that farmer optimism hasn't been higher since 2015.
Yeah.
So in 10 years, farmer sentiment hasn't been higher. And his opinion was all driven off of a change in president.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes, right? I mean, could go a lot of different ways, and it's just gonna take time to see the true promise versus put into practice kind of thing that we're gonna see. I don't know, but I do know that the seed industry seems really ready to just like tackle all of it together. That's just the consensus that I'm hearing here.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of cohesion coming. We spent a lot of time in many years creating silos around some companies. And I think we're starting to see that break down a little bit. We're starting to see that. And by breakdown, I mean open up to collaboration, open up to possibilities. And we do that as a group. There's so much more potential and there's so much more optimism. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what we're feeling even here is that optimism.
Yeah.
Tough to say optimistic after Dan's comments.
It really is.
But that's the sense I get, is that there is indeed optimism to move forward and more collective. Mm-hmm. It's cool.
I went to a session yesterday also that talked about making science make sense to consumers. And I mean, we're in the business of making things make sense to our industry. And we have maybe got to do a better job of teaching them how to communicate their message and tell their story so that it's understood when people hear it.
It really is a critical piece, isn't it? This idea of people connecting people, right? You know that's been an internal mandate for seedworld of people connecting people. And I think that if we're going to connect people, we have to be able to speak the way that they can hear us. Mm-hmm. I got told a long time ago as a communicator that it's not just my job to control what I say, but my job is to generate your listening. Mm-hmm. And I think the seed industry is starting to pick that up, starting to pick up the idea that we can't just blast them with the same science over and over and over again, but that we actually have to talk in a language and in a way that gets them to actually hear us.
That's our mission. Meet them where they are, right? Yeah.
Right. That's a pretty old or traditional tactic when talking about communications, but I think it's finally starting to be adopted into, because we're seeing that we need to have more influence. Mm-hmm. So,
anything you're looking forward to the rest of the week or into the new year?
Well, I am consistently reminded how many good people are in this business. Yeah. And I leave an event like this at ASTA in Orlando totally inspired, because you get to bounce into these people. They're not here as a get-rich-quick scheme. They're here because they absolutely love the idea of either playing a role in feeding the world, helping people to be successful, connecting people. Those pieces are what drives us to be good at our job. And especially for us, that drives us to be good at our job, but it's what drives the industry. And being part of that engine feels pretty good.
Yeah, and I'm seeing like not just business relationships. These are true friendships that people have built. I see people handshakes, hugs all day long. They're like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in a year. And it's just so important to be in a physical space with people. And it's exciting. I mean, I'm energized by that, even in a long day.
So you've been with SeedWorld now for?
A little over a year.
And so what's your big takeaway? Because this is your second time at ASTA. What's the big takeaway?
Well, just that it's a smaller industry than it looks.
Right.
But mostly because of the people. The people care about each other, and they like to remember who I am. I like to remember who they are, and just catch up on business and what they're doing, but also personal lives. I'm learning about people, and I just really, really enjoy the relationships. But all my life in agriculture has been that way. Ag people are just different than other people.
Yeah, the rest of the world would say we're different too.
Yeah, but that's okay. That's okay. We're getting it. We're different in a good way.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Thanks very much for sitting down for a chat.
You too. It's nice to catch up with you, since we don't even live in the same area, right?
Exactly. Yeah. This is our opportunity.
That's right.
Thanks for the chat.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers.